Welcome, everyone. So my name is Aya Kaluti, and I overlook creator partnerships in the Middle East. I look after talent partnerships in the region, which means that I manage creators and celebrities and influencers in the Middle East and North Africa. So just to give you a little bit of stats information, we have been growing massively on Snapchat with over 900 million active users globally, which is a huge increase for Snapchat. And just with a raise of hands, maybe I can see who uses Snapchat on a daily basis. Okay. What about the rest? Do you use it at least once a week? No? Okay. So hopefully by the end of the session today, you will understand a little bit more about Snapchat and why Snapchat is different from the other platforms. So the first thing I would tell you is that Snapchat is very, very, very different when it comes to the connections that you make on the platform. It's made for communication and for connections. So whenever you open the application, the first thing that opens up is the camera. And then to the left side, the left tab is basically the chat tab. And that's basically why the entire application started, or why the platform was made to communicate, whether in an audio-visual way or even just through text and messages. So that's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. Even if you are content creators and you would like to create content, just keep in mind that this is a communication application. So you would always need to keep a genuine and loyal connection with your audience. Our community isn't just Snapchatting and snapping and chatting. They're watching, they're discovering new content. There is an increase of 25% in content viewing year over year, just the past year in 2024. So today, I want to show you a video that showcases a couple of our local examples and some European examples of content creators on the platform. I hope you can recognize some of them, but this can give you a summary of how we operate on the platform.
See life
through my lens.
When the beat goes off, we bang to the
See you on Snapchat.
See you on Snapchat.
See you on Snapchat.
See you on Snapchat.
All right. I hope you could recognize some faces. But we have a very flourished and very big community of creators here in the Middle East, and specifically Saudi and UAE. We have over 26 million users in Saudi on its own, and over 5 million users in UAE on its own. Then we have Kuwait and the rest of the GCC. So how many of you actually tried to create content on Snapchat before? Okay, awesome. Today, I'm going to walk you through the best, I would say, algorithm tips and best practices on how to really utilize the platform in the best possible way, and why you should really care about Snapchat and how easy and simple it is to create content on the platform. So let's talk a little bit about you when you're creating content. What is the reaction, or what are the reactions of your audiences that make it seem as if your content is not really working the best possible way? We're going to talk about that in the beginning, and then we're going to talk about what are the best, I would say, reactions you would get from your audience that would tell you or indicate that you're doing something very well. So the first thing, if you're getting ultra short views, which means that people or the audience is not continuing to watch, or you don't have a high completion rate, basically. They're not continuing to watch your content. So that means maybe you need to enhance a little bit your storytelling style. Snapchat is all about talking to the camera, creating very genuine, very simple and raw content. So don't think of editing, don't think of overthinking and planning the content. Really think of how you can open the camera and just share your day in the best possible way, where it tells a story and people can actually watch through as much as possible of your content. The other thing is unsubscribes. So if people are unsubscribing from your content, well, there's the normal organic unsubscription, which is very, very normal. Some people can subscribe, unsubscribe. But if you're seeing a drastic change in the subscription percentage or metric, then that means you're doing something very wrong and you have to change the way of content that you're creating. Not original content. So we do have some creators who are just posting third-party content, which means reaction videos, trending news, content that is not original of their own making. And that's something that really decreases the engagement and the motivation of your audience to watch through your content. If your content is being reported a lot, that means there's something wrong and that you're also violating the content and the community guidelines on Snapchat. Again, if people are having a very low completion rate of your content. Now, what are the best or the good actions that your audience might be doing on Snapchat? It's completely the opposite of what we just spoke about. The first thing is long view time. There's a high completion rate. They're favoriting your content. You have original content. And for the most part, people are actually following you. And we're going to talk about if you are just purely new and you're starting from scratch on Snapchat, how can you increase your follower base? So for those who don't have Snapchat, I recommend that you download the app first of all, just so you can reference what we're talking about in a simpler way. Some people only use it for filters. Some people still ask me, is it still a thing? Well, yeah, if you're living here and specifically in the GCC, it is a thing and it's a huge thing. You're kind of missing on a very, very big opportunity to tap into the GCC audience if you're not on Snapchat. And if you are on Snapchat, then maybe you are familiar with those 5 tabs that we have on the platform. The first one is the map, which is when you first open the application, you go to the far left. It is the map where it shows you where you are if you choose to show your location. So maybe you're not showing your location, you're in ghost mode, that's totally fine. You want more privacy, that's fine. But then some people choose to show where they are. So you actually get to see where they are in the minute. Are they traveling from one place to the other? Are they, like going in the car somewhere? You get to see where your friends are. And this is basically for the people who are your friends. So only if you've added them and they've added you back. But if it's just for the regular people, like the average user, no one can tell where you are unless you post to the map. And that's something we can talk about in a minute. Then the second tab, which is the chat. Again, Snap was made as a communication application. So majority of the people would be familiar with the chat tab. And that's where the amazing conversations happen between friends, families. Some communities use WhatsApp for family groups, but in the GCC, it's very common, especially for the Khaliji community, to have groups on Snapchat, especially family groups. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, you have the camera, which is the first thing that opens up when you open the app. The purpose of having the camera, the first tab, again, is to allow you, enable you to create the most simple and raw content possible that you can make. So people do expect and viewers do expect to see you in a very raw, unfiltered way on Snapchat as compared to other platforms. So think of when you first wake up, what kind of breakfast you have, what your daily routine is. Just coming to this event might have already created, like 10, 15 stories for that content, and just like really sharing what kind of content you're having during the day. Then you have the stories. So let's say you create content, you don't send it to your friends, but you decide to share it onto your public story. That's where it shows up. This is our Discover feed or the Explore page for those of you who are familiar with that term more. So it's split up in 3 different sections. The first section at the top is your friends section. So if you add someone and they add you back, they become your friends. And that's where their stories will show at the very top. And then if you're following someone, but they're not following you back, they become or they show up in the subscriptions tab, which is also where some shows show. And then the last one, which is Discover, that's where a lot of the Snapstar content or the verified accounts content show up. Some shows also show up there that you may not be following. So it's an amazing way for you to really discover new content and explore more of what's being posted to the platform. And then the third thing, which is Spotlight, the fifth one is Spotlight. Think of this as the reels of Instagram and the feeds of TikTok videos. So short, fast-paced videos that are posted for your entertainment, can be DIY videos, funny videos, food videos. That's what goes onto Spotlight. So now we're gonna talk about each one of them in details. Okay, so if you remember, we just said there's stories and there's Spotlight. What is the difference when you're actually considering posting content to either one of them? Stories, we consider the content to be timely and very in the moment. So let's say this workshop happening right now, Mohammed is taking stories. He's posting them, let's say, in the moment. And that is content that is relevant to today, okay? If I were to create Spotlight, it would be something like a compiled video of the entire day. So It would be something that looks like maybe breakfast and then going into the car and then going to the workshop and then going late at night and having dinner. So that's something just for you to visualize the difference between both platforms on Snapchat. So how often are you supposed to post to stories versus spotlight? For stories, we recommend that you post 50 stories a day. Okay? And I would love for you to not think of our stories as the stories being posted on other platforms, because 50 stories on other platforms can seem like a lot, but 50 stories on Snapchat is actually very little for us. And we do have some creators that are posting 500, 700 stories a day. But those creators are actually gaining so many followers, they're gaining so much in revenue when they're monetizing, and they're gaining a lot of views as well. So 50 stories, each one of them is 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, so think of the dots or the frames that show up at the top. Each one of them is considered one story. So you want to aim at having at least 20 to 50 stories a day. Try to not to go below the 20 stories a day, because then that makes your content not really be as distributed as you would like it to be. So 50 stories, each one 10 to 15 seconds, should be a good number to aim at, especially if you're taking this seriously and especially if you really want to get verified on the platform if you are not. In terms of spotlight, that's content that's considered more evergreen. So think of the feeds again on TikTok and also the reels on Instagram. It doesn't have to be relevant to the moment. If I were to go on Snapchat and like just swipe up, I would see content and maybe I would watch it today, maybe I'd watch it tomorrow, next year, it would still be relevant. So think of that kind of content for spotlight. It would need to be fast paced, it would need to be very action oriented and very to the point. You have to start with the action. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention to you the frequency of posting on Spotlight. So we'd aim at one video a day maximum, with 3 to 5 videos a week, not more than that. And also avoid posting your stories to Spotlight, because then that would just not be the best practice on the platform. A lot of people, when they take stories, they just select all. They publish to stories, Spotlight, friends, everything. Select all. We don't recommend that. We recommend that you post your stories to stories and your spotlights to spotlight. All right. As I was telling you, the opening of the video is very, very important. Think of the hook, whether it's for the story or whether it's for the spotlight. But let's take the story as an example. Let's say every day I'm used to, creating content of like how I wake up and how I do my makeup, all of that. I would need to at least keep in mind that this person or this viewer is watching me on a daily basis. So how can I make them, be as entertained and not skip the intro, especially if they're used to it? So every day I can include something that is a little bit more entertaining, a twist to my good morning, just something that's a little bit different and can really hook people up. All right, this is a spotlight video that did really well on the platform. I would love for you to watch it. Keep in mind and just think what made that video go viral so that we can talk about the different elements that made it go viral.
What will 2025 push-ups do to my body?
This is the pump at 0 push-ups.
And something tells me that this was a bad idea to start the year with. After 100 push-ups, I'm feeling a slight pump, but knowing that we have to do this 20 more times doesn't help with my motivation. The pump is motivating though, because after 500 push-ups, and Arjen's starting to sweat as well, this is what I look like. We measured our chest at 0 push-ups to see how much bigger they get after 2025.
This is the pump, 750 push-ups in.
After 1 hour and 1,000 push-ups, my pump looks like this, and this means we're halfway. But then I noticed something. Even though we chucked this gel for my protein, which definitely gave us more energy, it feels like the pump has reached its max and is now actually getting worse.
I don't think it's getting better.
But we keep going.
1,500 push-ups in.
And after reaching 1,700, 1,800, and 1,900 push-ups, my knees looking like this, Arjen sweating like crazy and being in pain, we did 2,025 push-ups. It took us 2 hours and 10 minutes, made my chest 3 centimeters bigger, while Arjen's didn't grow for some reason.
I'm quitting.
And made the pump look like this. Comment at which point the pump was the best.
All right. With a raise of hands, I would love to hear just your thoughts of why this video went viral and why it performed really well. So who would like to volunteer? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Awesome. What else? Yeah. 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 Very nice. What else? Yeah. A lot of suspense. Yeah. 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 Starting with a question. She said that you would still be waiting for the end to happen or to come. I think I saw a raise of hand here, or no? Okay. So you got it right. The first thing was the first second, which is the hook that we just spoke about. The very beginning of the video was super catchy. So remember, on Spotlight specifically, you really have 1 to 3 seconds to catch the attention of the audience. If you miss that, people are just gonna swipe up. And consider yourselves the viewer. So if you were to put yourselves in the viewer's shoes, what would make this content stick to your mind, or you would want to really like watch this video and continue through? Even for your own content, ask your friends, ask your family, ask whoever is close to you about your videos before you post them. And I'm speaking specifically about Spotlight because this is the only place on the platform where you might need to do some editing. Okay, so stories, you don't need to think, just really post in the moment and just like it disappears after 24 hours, so you don't need to worry about anything. But for Spotlight, if you're still not used to the platform as much, I would recommend just, viewing it yourself before you post it. Would you watch it yourself or no? Would your family watch it or no, and your friends, and so on. So the hook is so important. The second thing is the editing was super tight. So there were so many frames, there were so many angles to the video. You really just wanted to see what the result was. And you were so hooked on just watching. There was nothing that was so monotonous about the video. The third thing is adding texts and graphic to increase the engagement. So always consider adding text, whether to your stories or to your spotlights. Sometimes some people, they start watching the videos with no sound on. You might do it yourself. You're waiting at a clinic. I don't know, wherever you are, you don't want to put the sound on. So adding that text can really help understand the idea of the video and really watch through as much as possible. All right. So what is the secret key to really getting high engagement on Snapchat? I know a lot of people, when they're starting on the platform, they ask me, Aya, I'm just starting. Who is going to see this content? How is it going to go out there, especially if they're not verified yet? Well, there are some tools on the platform that highly encourage and recommend your content to the algorithm. And then once you got that momentum, it's just about keeping it up and being consistent with it. So first of all, you need to be posting very consistently. Okay, so we're talking 50 stories a day. Keep up with that on a daily basis, and then you can start maybe giving yourself 1-2 days break. But Snapchat is all about consistency. It's very, very different from other platforms. It's not just one video and you post it and you leave it. It's a daily thing. People want to see what you're doing on a daily basis. How did the event go? How did you get ready for this event or occasion? So what really happened during the day? And if you miss on days, people have other options. There are so many creators on the platform and they're posting heavily on the platform. So you really want to stay relevant, especially if you're starting off very fresh on Snapchat. So what are the tools that can help you engage your audience? The first thing is something we call story replies and quoting. So when you post your public story, when people start commenting on or replying onto your story, when you swipe up, you will see all those comments and all those replies coming up on your stories. So what you need to do is really, even if they are one comment, even if they are 2 replies, less than 5, whatever it is, just take that comment and quote it. There will be a quotation mark next to it to the right. Just quote it and actually add it to your public story, just like this example. By the way, Rose is one of the most famous Saudi models living in the States and one of the biggest Snap stars or Snap accounts for Snapchat. So what she did was she quoted what John replied, and she posted a picture of herself. She added text and she replied to him. So what we usually recommend is that you quote and you reply with a selfie picture or a selfie video, rather than the black screen that a lot of people put in the background. So try to always reply with facial expressions. You need facial expressions, whether it's the thumbnail, the last story that you're posting, the reply that you're replying to, whatever it is, you need facial reactions. Then you need facial expressions. Okay. Some accounts may be just interested in showcasing, what's happening in terms of tourism, in terms of trips, without showcasing or without showing their faces. These accounts can perform okay, but then they may not be eligible for verification. And always, when you want to build a connection with your audience, you need to show face. So face has to show. So that's number 1. The other one is using the polls. So basically, when you take a picture and you go onto the screen, You see the third one from the top, the sticker icon. The sticker icon has so many options in order to engage with your audience. One of them is the polls, which is basically what you're seeing here on the screen. You can change the emoji as much as you want. You just click on the emoji. Usually it's a thumbs up, thumbs down. Click on it, and then you can see a variety of like emojis where you can just adjust according to your content. The third one is the question sticker. Also from the same stickers tab, you click on it, you see the question sticker. You can ask them whatever question you want, and most of the time we recommend you ask a question that would actually trigger emotion or trigger people to ask you a question in return, answer the question that you asked, and not just swipe through and just be like, okay, good to know. So I would really recommend you take a picture of the screen. If you do this consistently, along with posting 50 stories a day, you should see a huge drastic change in your engagement and in your viewing. All right. Now, if you go onto the profile of any public figure, any celebrity, any influencer, you will see that it's split up into two sections. The first one is stories and the other one is spotlight. Again, this would show on your public profile. And if you haven't posted before, you might have this all very empty and blank. So I recommend that you come on here and do what I'm going to tell you in order to increase the viewership of your profile. The first one, stories. So this is something called saved stories, and it's different from the stories that I was just talking about. The stories I was just talking about is your public story that you post live in the moment, and those disappear within 24 hours, okay? This is the section where you can post anything, whether from the stories that you've posted publicly before or from your camera roll. So let's say you want to post something onto your profile that has not been posted before, or has not been shared before onto your public story. You can easily just do it here. You can add a title and you can add a thumbnail. And this is the only place on Snapchat for you as a creator where you can actually add a title and you can add a thumbnail. Choose from whatever pictures you want on your camera roll, select it and have it on there. So why would we want to do that? Number one, because you want new viewers who come to your profile to really see your style, especially if you haven't posted public stories. So you're not always going to have a story there, living on your public story. So you want them to come and see, like how your style is. You want to post engaging stories that you may have posted before, and you want people to just see it on your profile. Also keep in mind that a lot of brands come across your profiles and you may not be on other platforms, or maybe they are not on other platforms. So they just want to see how you do on Snapchat. So I recommend that you do at least 6 of those saved stories onto your accounts. And the cool thing about those saved stories is that they do go on Discover. So they don't only remain on your profile, they also get distributed onto Discover feed. So you're getting extra views, you're getting extra revenue for those who will be monetizing, you are getting extra subscribers. It just keeps on running in the background for as long as it's relevant. So I'll give you an example. Over the summer, maybe some of you have traveled to those very seasonal destinations, let's say like Marbella, for example. So you could have posted a saved story and just been like the top 5 restaurants in Marbella and just have up to 100 stories from that content. It was super relevant over the summer because a lot of Snapchat users go to that destination over the summer. So it was trending on Discover, it was trending on everyone's stories, and that could have gotten you a lot of followers and a lot of new viewership. All right, now we spoke about the best practices, but then how can we measure the success and the progress of our work on Snapchat as creators? Well, there's an Insights tab. If you go onto your public profile settings, you will see the Insights tab. There are so many metrics that can be viewed from here. And I would say the most important one to look for is the second one, which is the viewers, rather than the views. So viewers and views are completely different. Viewers are the number of people who are viewing your content. Views are how many times these viewers viewed your content. For example, I have 5 viewers, but 10 views, which means that each viewer has viewed it twice. So that's why a lot of the times, if you're very active on Snapchat, you'll see that your views maybe are, let's say, 10,000, but your viewers are 2,000. So there's a difference in that number, and there's a reason for that. It just means that it has been viewed multiple times by the same viewer, okay? And when you swipe up your stories, you will see most of the time either like a play button or an eye icon. The eye symbol showcases the viewers. The play symbol or the, yeah, just the play symbol, it showcases basically the views. So that's just for you to differentiate between both of them. So if you go into insights, you will see all of those metrics, including the average time viewed, the number of followers that you've gained, the audience demographics when it comes to gender, age, top demographics or top countries, and then you can basically adjust your content accordingly. So this is just to showcase how it looks like when you click on each specific metric. And again, as I told you, in order for you to increase the number of followers, really focus on Spotlight. Especially if you're starting off very fresh on Snapchat, post to Spotlight every day at least once. At least once. And you will see a drastic change in the number of followers on your account. All right, now all of those metrics can also be viewed in much more details if you go onto your profile manager on the web app. So if you go log into snapchat.com and you go into your insights, you will see the insights on a much deeper level than what shows on your mobile phone. So keep that in mind. You can see all the details. You can see where your followers are coming from, especially if you click here on the followers gained in the middle. It showcases basically how many are coming from Spotlight versus Stories versus Discover, just very different platforms or traffic sources that are coming in. Most of the time, if you are living here in the GCC, you will notice that your top countries entail Saudi, UAE, and Kuwait. Most of the time, especially if you're speaking Arabic, and especially if this is a demographic that you've been struggling with on other platforms, Snapchat may be the easiest in order to tap into this audience and penetrate it. All right, so there is monetization on Snapchat, but there are certain eligibility criteria for that, and I think it would be very interesting for you to know of it. For you, if you plan to create content similar to Stories and Spotlight, just know that we do pay creators to create such content. But first, you have to be verified on the platform. So first, you have to have at least 50,000 followers on the platform. You have to be posting consistently, and you have to have original content in order for you to be eligible for verification. Now, once you're verified, you get into the second wave of, I would say, eligibility for monetization. What is it? The first one is 50K followers. Most of the time, you would have already you would have already satisfied that criteria by being verified. Sometimes we do exceptions if you're a very big public figure or celebrity, you're established on other platforms, you're very relevant in the moment. We do exceptions and we verify the account beforehand. And the second one is consistency. So for you to have at least 10 million Snap views on your stories, 1 million Spotlight views, or 12,000 hours of view time in the past 28 days, in addition to posting frequently on Spotlight and on Stories. Okay, so this would make you eligible for monetization. Now, if you monetize on the Snapchat, it can be a different story for you. We've had a lot of people who quit their jobs just because of the revenue that they've gained from Snapchat stories, specifically from the stories themselves, because Spotlight does have monetization, but the main aim would be just gaining followers. So if you're posting the 100, 150 stories a day, you're really active, you're posting on a daily basis, you're really engaged, most of the time you would see a very nice revenue coming in just from posting your day. You're really not going out of your way to create content. You're just sharing consistently. And you can make so much money that you can reinvest in creating more content. If you happen to work with a team or if you like just posting from the web app, you can easily do that. Just log in again onto snapchat.com and you can just post your content, whether it's stories or spotlights, directly from the web. Now, one feature, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, that can really help you is scheduling your posts. So you just go onto your public profile, you take a picture, and feel free to try it right now for those who have Snapchat. And you can just take a picture and then send to your public story, and then you would see 3 dots to the left. Click on that, and you can schedule your post to whenever. A lot of content creators get super busy during the day. Maybe they're going to events. Maybe they're trying to cover, you know, like a brand event or whatever it is, and they want to post later. So they can just schedule those posts to go at a certain time. So that feature is available on Snapchat. And then again, you can post Spotlight to through the web. Now, this basically brings us down to the summary of this presentation. And I would recommend that you take a picture of this. This is the best practices summarized. Again, if you do all of this, you would become eligible for verification in addition to the other criteria, but also you would find that your content is much more distributed on the platform. So again, 20 to 50 snaps to stories and 3 to 5 times a week to spotlight. Try to not go below the 50 a day for stories. 20 is just the basic minimum. It is considered a lot or very high number in the States just because the creators don't post that heavily as compared to the Middle East. Again, we have creators posting 500, 700 stories here in the region, so 50 for us is really just like the minimum. Try to post daily and then create engaging content. So utilize the engagement tools such as polls, question stickers, and story replies. Use the profile manager to upload your content and keep an eye on your analytics. Also use the technical support team and help center if you need or if you face any support issues. So this is in summary. Try to put everything in a nutshell, but I would highly recommend that you start using Snapchat for creating content onto public stories if you haven't, and really just exploring with how the audience is completely different from other platforms. That's it. Thank you very much.